You want me to sit now? Because you can't stop
Let me
laughing.
turn the camera around.
No.
What is that pose you're posing?
I am standing like a tree. Don't ask.
Is this is a Tai Chi thing?
No, it's not a Tai Chi thing. It's a
Qigong thing.
yeah, but I only I have no training. I just get this stuff from a book that I've been doing for years, and I only stand like a tree after doing some warm up exercises, and I only do it outside, and I do it for like 13 minutes. At a time.
You stand like a tree for a long time.
13 minutes.
Do squirrels
It's at night.
frolic
I
around?
do it in the dark or at sunset.
Welcome to our world.
Well, I noticed Lon was typing in Choronzon speaks or something like that. I thought, is that why he's invited me to say something?
Because we're talking about the demon of the abyss, Choronzon, today. So I've been. You're never supposed to engage Choronzon in conversation because
That's why Lon doesn't talk to me ever.
Anyway, let's start off by Constance and I were one of the early clergy member of the resurrected Ecclesia Gnostica Catholica. Okay, that's why we're both priest and priestess and bishop,
Archbishop and bishop.
and things like that. And early on, before the EGC, which is the ecclesiastical branch of OTO, before things got stylized and formalized and things like that, we were in the position of baptizing new members and confirming them into the church. And as at the time there was no
Set ceremony.
set ceremony,
We took it upon ourselves to write set ceremonies, and because we like to cut the crap generally in rituals, get to the point, they are very brief. And
so
they were official, but they are nobody
Oh.
in official positions right now knows it.
I'm sure they're more lengthy and formalized
Yes, they are.
ceremonies. But when it came time to baptize a member, we always did this after Gnostic Mass. The priestess would do the baptism, and the priest, I would do the consecration. And magically speaking, you purify with water and consecrate with fire or oil.
But because they are both present at Mass, well, the oil is not present at Mass, but you could bring that
Right.
later.
So after Mass and after everyone, including the newly baptized, to be baptized and to be consecrated person, had taken communion, would bring them to the font, first of all, and Constance,
No.
she is standing like
I
a tree,
remember, I
staring.
remember someone vividly standing in front of our pew at the near the past that area. Where
Okay,
the people were.
and then what would you do? and say-
I went to the font and got my right hand wet, and I would go to them, and they knew that this question was coming, by the way, and the question was, what name would you like me to baptize you with? And I encouraged them to use the name that their parents gave them, because I don't really believe in mistakes, but errors can be made. But anyway, and if they wanted to use their magical name, they could do that too. But as far as I'm concerned, their mottos and magical names may want to change later, but who knows? That's okay too. Anyway, I would say, are you willing to be baptized in Ecclesia Gnostica Catholica? And they would say yes, because no one ever said no. And and I would say, "Your will be done," and I would make crosses on them and say, "Oh God."
In nomine.
No, that's at the beginning.
Oh.
I actually can't remember the very beginning. I'd make crosses and say, maybe I said, "Nuit Hadit Rahur Kui."
Yes.
I baptize you in the name of Ecclesia Nastica Catholica, this name, and put water on their forehead, probably, in all those places. All of that at the same time. This is confusing because Lon asked me just now and I didn't really remember it. And then I would say, "May your virtues and your vices equally serve your true will." And then, "In nomine Babylon, restriction unto Choronzon," which I figured those things took care of all that good start. You know who you are, you know who you aren't, and what not to do. Okay, that's it.
Okay. And then
Now I'm going to go make beige brown buckwheat for breakfast with raisins and cinnamon.
we're having buckwheat for breakfast, which is actually really good. Okay. And then, as priest at the consecration, I would dip my. I would ask them, is it their will to be a consecrated member of the church? And answering in the affirmative, I say, "Then your will be done." Then I dip my forefinger in oil of abramelin. I make 3 crosses on their forehead. And simply say, "In nomine Babylon." And then I put my left hand behind their neck and I slam their forehead right on where those 3 crosses are. "In nomine Babylon, restriction unto Choronzon," and sort of pull their head back a little bit like that. And I held that for a second and delivered what charge I could deliver. And then with my right hand, I slap them across the face, and which surprises them. And then I say, "Let this blow remind you of the seriousness of the step you've taken." Now, why are we saying all of this morning? Because we're going to talk a bit.
You want me to say something? I'm not sure you didn't. You forgot something. You may have said, "In the name of the Ecclesia Nastica Catholica, I consecrate you a priest or priestess," or whatever you're doing.
Oh, well, we're just talking about the consecration and
Right.
Yeah.
You didn't say that during yours?
Oh, well, I didn't consecrate everybody a priest or a priestess. This is their confirmation in the church.
Ah, that's true. But you didn't mention it when you did the thing, and I think you may have at the time.
Oh, perhaps so.
I don't know.
Let's start over today.
You say, "I remember it well."
Ah, yes. You were blue. I wore chartreuse.
It was red. Okay, I'm going now. Sorry I interrupted you. Did you ask me a question? Is that why I came in here? I forgot.
No, I didn't remember what I said about Choronzon. Don't engage them in conversation. It's eternal.
I agree.
Okay, that's it.
You said, "Why are we doing this, honey?" That's why I came in. You said, "Why are we doing this in nomine Babylon?" And you did ask me.
Yes, I did ask you, dear. Of course.
Didn't you say, "Why are we doing this?"
Yes. Yes. Tell us why we're doing this morning.
No. Because I did bibliomancy. So what lots to do for class?
She did bibliomancy this morning, and it was a really good one, actually. So, wish you could have been there. The abyss. We're going to talk about the abyss and the so-called demon of the abyss, Choronzon. Now, on the Tree of Life, if you want to look at the Tree of Life, we've got the top three sephira, which are really only aspects of a singularity. Everything else below the supernal triad there is below the abyss and is manifested. There's stuff. But above the abyss is a world beyond duality and is an inscrutable something, nothing. And between the supernal triad and the rest of the tree is an area called the abyss. And it's where nouns and verbs can exist. And above the abyss is the inscrutable, I don't even want to call it a source, but it is a source. But it is so strange that when one raises one's consciousness to the point of trying to identify with the supernal triad, requires the equivalent of passing through a looking glass. Yes, dear? Choronzon is giggling. But anyway, that area on the Tree of Life is the area that or that non-area, that looking glass area between number 4 on the Tree of Life, which is the highest you can go below there, and number 3, which is the opening act of the supernal triad. But in the Enochian aether, or the Enochian heaven way of looking at that same spectrum of consciousness, it is the 10th aether. And we're going to dwell, if you will, on the 10th aether for today, probably a little bit for tomorrow too. Because when Crowley and Victor Newberg were marching across the North African Sahara, systematically scrying the Enochian aethers, by the time they got to number 10, Crowley was, in a sense, synchronizing his own initiatory career, his own systematic mind expansion, if you will, to the point of where he was going to make the abyss crossing. Now, traditionally, in the abyss is a great demon of dispersion, Choronzon. It's the closest thing that Hermetic Kabbalists or Kabbalists have to what superstitious religions would call a devil. Because it is where all things lose their thingness. And it's not a being, okay, because if it was a being, that would suggest that it has a unity of some kind, and it doesn't. But it's a crazy thing. And that's why when Constance baptized and when I consecrated. I said, in the name of Babylon, or number 3 there. In nomine Babylon, amen. Restriction unto Choronzon. And when Crowley was ready to do the 10th Aether with Victor Newberg as his scribe, it was pretty serious stuff. It was a 2-man operation. And Crowley set it up in such a way as to literally evoke Choronzon in a classic formatted way similar to Solomonic magic. Victor, as the scribe who is writing all this down, what's coming out of everybody's mouth, is in the circle. And in the triangle where the demon is invoked or evoked, sat the seer, which is Crowley himself. He evoked into himself Choronzon. Crowley the seer in the triangle, Victor Newberg the scribe in the circle. It's pretty dramatic stuff. And I'm going to read to you out of the Vision and the Voice with the commentaries. In nomine Babylon, restriction under in nomine Babylon, amen. Restriction unto Choronzon. The 10th Aether called Zax. I'm going to stop right there. Every Enochian Aether, except the 10th, which has 4 governors, all the other Enochian Aethers have 3 governors, which correspond to 3 of the 91 parts of the earth. And all of those governors, all, let's say, 88 of those governors anywhere, their names are taken from the 4 elemental tablets. Each of those elemental tablets have 156 lettered squares. But the 10th Aether has 3 governors whose names aren't taken from the elemental tablets. They're taken from the spirit tablet, the tablet of union, Exharp, Hakama, Nanta, Batom. And they squeeze those 4 great archangel names of the elemental, or the tablet of union, and squeeze them into 3 governors' names. It's always been a weird Aether, the 10th Aether. This Aether being accursed, the seer, forewarned, hath taken these precautions for the scribe. And I want you to I posted that today. That's sort of the setup. Scribes sits in the circle, the seer in the triangle. And it's pretty much straightforward Solomonic format. First, let the scribe, Victor, be seated in the center of the circle in the desert sand. And let the circle be fortified by the holy names of God, Tetragrammaton, and Shaddai El-Kai, and Ararita. Let the demon be invoked within a triangle, Therein is inscribed the name of Choronzon, and about him let him write Anaphaxaton, Anapheniton, and Permumaton. And in the angles, Mikael. And at each angle the seer shall slay a pigeon. And having done this, let him retire to a secret place. We don't know. I believe that's in the triangle itself, okay? But it doesn't say that. Having done this, let him retire to a secret place where there is neither sight nor hearing, and sit with his black robe, secretly invoking the Aether. And he said here, the greatest precautions were taken at the time, and have since been yet further fortified to keep silence concerning the rite of evocation. The major adept is warned most seriously against attempting to emulate this operation, which is in any case improper for him to perform. To call forth Choronzon unless one be wholly above the abyss is to ensure the most appalling and immediate catastrophe. Okay, this is back. Secretly invoking the Aether. And let the scribe, that's Victor in the circle, let the scribe perform the banishing rituals of the pentagram and hexagram, and let him call upon the holy names of God, and say the exorcism of Honoris, and let him beseech protection and help from the Most High. And let him be furnished with the magical dagger, and let him strike fearlessly at anything that may seek to break through the circle, were it the appearance of the seer himself. And if the demon pass out of the triangle, let him threaten him with the dagger, and command him to return. And let him beware, lest he himself lean beyond the circle. And since he reverenceth the person of the seer as his teacher, let the seer bind him with a great oath to do this. You got to promise to stab me if I try to jump into the circle. Now then, the seer being entered within the triangle, let him take the victims and cut their throats. Okay, the pigeons. He's using pigeon blood as the basis or the medium of the operation, in the same way that people use incense or dittany of Crete or frankincense. The burnt blood has been traditionally a medium for spirits to take form. It's sort of like it's, no pun intended, it's overkill, okay? But the release of living prana into the air has always theoretically been used. That's why all the wholesale shedding of blood in sacrificial religions. Now then, the seer, being entered within the triangle, let him take the victims and cut their throats, pouring blood within the triangle, and being most heedful that not one drop fall without the triangle, or else Choronzon should be able to manifest in the universe. And when the sand hath sucked up the blood of the victims, let him recite the call of the Aether, apart, secretly, as aforesaid. Then will the vision be revealed, and the voice heard. And this is the oath he had Victor take. I, omnia vincam, a probationer of AA, hereby solemnly promise upon my magical honor, and swear by Adonai, the angel that guardeth me, that I will defend this magic circle of art with thoughts and words and deeds. I promise to threaten with the dagger and command back the triangle, into the triangle, the spirit incontinent. And should he strive to escape from it, and to strike with the dagger at anything that may seek to enter this circle, were it in the appearance of the seer, of the body of the seer himself. And I'll be exceedingly wary, armed against force and cunning, and I will persevere with my life the inviolability of this circle. Amen. And I summon mine holy guardian angel to witness this mine oath, which if I break, may I perish forsaken of him. Amen and amen. And then he does the cry of the 10th Aether, which is called Zax, Z-A-X. And that cry went like this. Madrias dies prof Zax, quis Mikaol senir kaos go od fis balzithras, yada. Non kagohulim mik maadoyan mad, yaod bliorb soba uawan quis luciftias peripsal. Dias abresa noms nitaib caus geob tildad fatdam plas. Toat noms chimical zoma elras taf glob marbiari idoigo od terzulpia audaf gohol. Causca tabiord senir ad Christios il poil teobilbas dil tim noan paidors bado the remninis silna. Il zaptil Parmji paripsax, ataquels buapes, el nibem ucho simp. Ad Christios agel torton mirqueti oblelel, ton pem dils moaspian. Ad Christios agel torton paraca simp. Cordzis, dod palad fifis als mena dod fartst bam zomawas, Kunisbra o avavax tonug. Ors catibel noas mitabjes levithmong, uncium tibelors bagle, mua ol cordzis. El capimao ixo maxip, od cacocasab gose baglen pitianta a Babylond, od farcht telukvovim. Madriax torzu o adriax o rocha proapri, tabiori priarzer tabas adrepan curs tedubix, iol cam priasiar coasi orod quas coiting. Repair pax agocor, umelod prizar cocoie oive cormpt. Torzu, zakar, ad zamran apsipsi butmona. Dias surzat theobaltan, odo cycleque, odo zasma plapli yad namad. There is no being in the outermost abyss, but constant forms come forth from the nothingness of it. Then the devil of the aether, that mighty devil Choronzon, crieth aloud, Zazas, Zazas, Nasatanada Zazas. I am the master of form, and from me all forms proceed. I am I. I have shut myself up from the spendthrifts. My gold is safe in my treasure chamber, and I have made everything my concubine, and none shall touch them save only I. And yet I am scorched, even while I shiver in the wind. He hateth me and tormenteth me. He would have stolen me from myself, but I shut myself up and mock at him, even while he plagueth me. From me come leprosy and pox and plague and cancer and cholera and the falling sickness. Ah, I will reach up to the knees of the Most High and tear his phallus with my teeth, and I will bray his testicles in a mortar and make poison thereof to slay the sons of men. Here the Spirit simulated the voice of Frater P, which also appeared to come from his station and not from the triangle. He then said, I don't think I can get any more. I think that's all there is. Well, that isn't going to be all there is. We're going to continue this tomorrow. But when I said, Zazas, Zazas, Nasatanada Zazas, which are the words that open up the gate of hell, Constance came in and sat down.
With no reason whatsoever.
She
Except I was going to say that what I bibliomancied today was the last 4 sentences or so, and had nothing to do with the entire class that Lon just did. So that kind of explains my life. But other than that...
Well, there you go. Now, I want to talk just briefly before we close today about this idea of the first thing out of Choronzon's mouth are the words, I am the master of form. He's lying. Okay. That's a lie. Crowley will mention in a footnote somewhere that that's a lie. But that's what he says. I am the master of form, and from me all forms proceed. Now, if we're looking at things from the point of view of how all of this begins, or the reality, if you will, above the abyss, in the same way as the opening lines of the Tao Te Ching is trying to explain how it all began and how it really didn't begin at all, but how we're perceiving it. It talks about the nameless and the named. What are you going to say, dear?
Reality, to me, it's my opinion, does not exist just above the abyss. Reality exists everywhere, and above the abyss is just a way of saying you awaken to the fact of what reality is.
No argument there.
Thank you.
One translation of the Tao Te Ching sort of blows my mind. Okay, this is the one by Spurgeon Medhurst. Okay, the Tao that can be expressed is not the unchanging Tao. So you just start talking about it, you just fucked it up right there. The Tao which can be expressed is not the unchanging Tao. The name which can be named is not the unchanging name. The nameless is the beginning of heaven and earth. The nameless is the beginning of heaven and earth. The mother of all things is the nameable. That seems like we're talking about two things, okay? But if we're talking about it, it's not two things, okay? But to even discuss it, you're turning it into two things. I'm going to read that again. The Tao which can be expressed is not the unchanging Tao. The name which can be named is not the unchanging name. The nameless is the beginning of heaven and earth. The mother of all things is the nameable. Thus, while the eternal non-being leads toward the fathomless, the eternal being conducts it to the boundary. Although these two, the Tao and its twofold aspect, have been differently named, they come from the same. As the same, they may be described as the abysmal. The abyss of the abysmal is the gate of all mystery. What do you think of that, dear? She's in awe. She's blowing kisses.
I am in awe, but yes, I am in awe.
Okay, that's it for today. We'll pick this up tomorrow. Until then, do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law.
Love is the law, love is your will.
Bye-bye.